Hello and welcome to this webinar entitled The ABC of Consumer Law with me, Keith Markham. As always, let's begin with a look at the agenda for this session today. So we'll begin by looking at this topic, sale of goods, digital content and services. And we'll look at that in a relatively high-level way today. We will look at the key rights and remedies that apply in each case. We'll see there are some important similarities and also some important differences. Once we've gone through that in some detail, we will then turn to talk about our second main topic, and that is the topic of unfair terms in consumer contracts. As many of you will be aware, if you do have a scenario where a trader is dealing with a consumer on a standard set of T's and C's, there are certain requirements in terms of what can go into those T's and C's to ensure fairness. And we'll look at all of the relevant considerations with regard to that. Once we've exhausted the topic of unfair terms, we'll go on to unfair commercial practices. Now, this is important to note that there's a bit of a difference here. The previous two topics, the rules have remained static for at least 10 years now. In terms of unfair commercial practices, since the 6th of April 2025, there have been some important changes which were introduced by the Digital Markets Competition and Consumers Act 2024, which I'll be discussing later on. So we'll see that some of the rules on unfair commercial practices have stayed the same. Some of them have been developed further and amended to take account of changes to commercial practices in the digital sphere, things like fake reviews and drip pricing and various other things, which we'll be talking about in some detail later on. And finally, for around about 5 to 10 minutes at the end, just to summarize, we will look at the fact that enforcement has changed as well. So we'll talk about the things that haven't changed to start with, but then we will look at the important change introduced particularly by the Digital Markets Competition and Consumers Act 2024, which is the introduction for the first time in this jurisdiction of a fining power, both for the courts and also for the Competition and Markets Authority directly, if it is so minded.